Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look this week at the astrological weather report for the week of June 10th through 16th. We got a couple planets changing signs, Mars and Mercury, and we also have a new moon at 17 degrees Gemini. So we got a lot going on this week. And just a few things first, a little bit of business and a special announcement too. First thing is the Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. And if you like what you see and you have a YouTube account, please, please, please become a follower. And when you become a follower, don't forget to turn your notifications on, and they will let you know when I post the blog every week. And remember, it was a podcast long before it was a video blog, so it is still available on podcasts. Also, just look up the Astrological Winds channel on your favorite podcast, and it's distributed by Buzzsprout and picked up by a bunch of them. So Apple iPodcast, there's others, but just look it up. You can find it there, and that frees you from having to watch a video screen. It gives you options of being able to listen to it at other times. Also, Astrological Winds channel has an Instagram page, and sometimes I not only post a link to the blog every week there, but I also sometimes post extra information and comments during the week, just in written form. It's not any audio or video, so always cool to check that out. And then also my private Facebook page, which is Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten. I also put the link up there if you want to friend me. It takes me sometimes a little while to sort through the friends and give the okay, but it will show up in your newsreel that way. And the best way to find the video blog, and besides having the YouTube channel and your account there, is to check my website out, www.astrologicalwinds.com. No, not channel, it's just winds, astrologicalwinds.com. And I embed every week's blog right there. So you can look up on the blog on the top of the page, and you'll find not only this week's, but the weeks, weeks from before too, if you need to go back and listen to the ones from the month before or whatever, they're accessible. Also, the website also has my menu as a professional astrologer. I do readings. I've been doing professional readings for over 20 years, and I was trained for 7 years in doing that. So my menu is right there, all the different types of readings and services that I offer, and the price list and all that. And, just get in touch with me, start a conversation. I'll work with you, and, we'll see what we can do for you. And remember, it is a free blog. So the thing that I ask everyone to do is to please pass the link along to somebody else that you think might be interested in it. And if you've done it before, I appreciate it. If you can do it again, I'd appreciate it even more. The other way that you can support the blog, and this is my special announcement, is that you can give a currency donation through Venmo to the blog. And my Venmo handle is at Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten, but there's a hyphen in the middle. So it's at Matthew hyphen Lawton, Lauten. And here's the special announcement. So here's the deal. A lot of people ask me about, getting a reading done. And sometimes I know that it's beyond a lot of your guys' budgets and stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to experiment with this for a month or two and see how it goes. If you make a $5 donation through Venmo to the blog, then you will be entered as one chance into getting a reading at the end of the month, either a natal chart reading or a predictive reading. Although I'd probably be even open to other stuff. And every $5 that you donate, you get another opportunity. So it's almost like a raffle, basically, right? So if you donate $20, you get 4 chances of getting that reading, And, if you don't get you don't win it, you're supporting a good cause. So anybody this month in June who gives a Venmo a donation to the blog of $5. Every $5 that you give, you'll get entered into a chance at the end of the month to get a free reading. So that's the way you got to do it. It's your opportunity to be out there and support me and maybe get a reading at a big discount. So once again, the Venmo handle is at the symbol A with the circle Matthew, capital M, two T's in the middle, hyphen in the middle, capital LAUTEN at Matthew Lawton. Okay. All right. I want to get into the blog, and the special announcement took me a little bit of more time there, and we got a lot going on. And once again, I just want to go back to that big change that happened 2 weeks ago when Jupiter went into Gemini. And I've been making some comments on it. And here's my next comments. Remember, Jupiter is a social planet, right? It's one of the two social planets. So we'll see a lot of the Jupiter Gemini play out in society, right? And Jupiter rules the courts. Jupiter also rules higher education. Gemini, right? Two sides of a story always going on with Gemini. So what's going on in the United States right now with the courts, right? Finding out that even the Supreme Court is under political influence. They're saying one thing, but they're actually hiding how they're feeling on the other side. They're allowing their own storyline, Gemini, to dictate what they're doing and what they're saying to the public, but it's being exposed, right? People are seeing that. Gemini energy can be very two-faced at times, have more than one story that it's telling different people. And that communication, all that stuff that's out there now with technology is exposing that. So here we have the courts, and like I said, Jupiter in Gemini is in detriment. Traditional stuff is going to really be seen for the way it's not being real, and the story is not being real. Also, higher education, right? All these protests going on these college campuses because they're saying, once again, you guys are taking our money and you're doing stuff with it that we don't like. You're being two-faced about, like, trying to educate, get the world better, but at the same time, you're allowing the investments of the money from education to be put into killing people, into buying weapons, into things like that. So very, very interesting how Jupiter in Gemini is going to expose those things in society that exposes where they've gone overboard, and they're telling the public one thing, they're showing the public one face, and they're actually doing something else with the other face. Two stories going on. So that's something to look for too in Jupiter and Gemini in society. I talked about it last week, how it could affect us individually, and we talked about it the week before, and even in the monthly. So I've been adding a lot to that stew, and like we really, really need to watch our details with Jupiter and Gemini. And if we think we're going to fake anyone out, it's probably going to be exposed. Okay. And you're going to have to really, end up having another story to tell at that point. All right, let's get into this week. Couple planets changing signs. Right away today on Monday, Mercury is going into Gemini, which is a really, really good thing for Mercury because that is one of the two signs that it traditionally rules. And that means that Gemini, the energy of Gemini, is very similar to the energy of Mercury. They're very congruent. They work really well together. They're all about the intellect, about the mind, right? And when Mercury goes into Gemini, it is into collecting information, right? It really wants to go out there and get information from all kinds of sources. And after it collects that information, it wants to communicate that what it's found out. It wants to get its ideas out there. It wants to test them out in the real world. So this is and also when Mercury is in Gemini, we can get a lot of information through through travel. When we go out and travel, we collect all kinds of information, and we're bringing this back. So the thing is with Mercury in Gemini, it's very superficial, the collection of the information. It's very surface type stuff. It tickles your interest, so to speak, but you don't go really deep on it yet. In fact, what happens is you can get quickly bored the mind is very quick and moving all the time when Mercury is in Gemini. So it's like it kind of gets very quickly bored. I've probably heard me say this before. It's like, the mind is like a butterfly when it's in Mercury and Gemini. So it's taking a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and taking it all back. And so, that can be the one issue with Mercury and Gemini is that, that it doesn't stay focused very long. It doesn't get very deep with the information. The information is really not even knowledge yet. It's starting to become knowledge. Starts to become primary knowledge. But by picking up that kind of information, that's where we can start to look at our own value systems, things that we've learned, and integrate some of this new information into it. So it's a really great time for getting around, connecting with other people, communications, education, taking courses, studying, taking some kind of class, business connections too. Great time to negotiate, iron things out, get at the table and do things. And what's really great about this one is, if you'll remember from last week's blog, on Saturday, we had the biggest event of the month, Jupiter trine Pluto. Well, Mercury, as soon as it goes into Gemini, is going to what? Conjunct Jupiter, which just went into Gemini, and it's going to trine Pluto, which is in the very early degrees of Aquarius. So what this means is just a beautiful combination of energy, in my opinion. Mercury in Gemini, right, is going to take information, right, and it's going to bring it to that Mercury Jupiter conjunction, and it's going to get a big, wide vision. It's going to see how things can be in the future. It can be really, really good with foresight and planning, especially in the business world. Yeah, Mercury Jupiter is like, you can really see a good plan, a vision, and how you can follow that vision and get it working. Now, it's also a very tolerant energy too. Jupiter in itself is very tolerant, and then Mercury and Jupiter together wants to widen the net of what it's allowing to receive in. So, it's getting information from different sources that are normal, and it's okay with that. It's not feeling defensive about that. Now, the interesting thing about Mercury Jupiter normally is that big vision, big plans. Mercury in Gemini too, Jupiter in Gemini too. Lots of stuff going on, lots coming at us, right? Lots of information coming at us, right? And it can be really sloppy with getting the details done. But the trine to Pluto, wow, brings it right in. That not only allows Mercury and Jupiter to have this grand vision and want to get it out there and communicate and connect with people, but it also gives the mind the ability to focus like a laser beam and get down to the details of everything that needs to be done. This is a highly perceptive mind. Mercury, Jupiter, Pluto, the energy balances really well. Mercury, take in the input. Jupiter, the input expands things. Pluto focuses in and sees all the parts and how everything is connecting underneath and working well and in harmony. We can really lock into this energy this week, you guys. This is a really, really good week to expand on the intellectual level, expand on your ideas, on your plans, on your learning, on your business, on your connections. Anything like that has to do with that intellectual stuff. The energy is so aligned this week. It's like having not only the vision, but having a magnifying glass where you can see down to the lowest levels of that vision what needs to be done, what exactly has to happen, and work with that. And so, and also on a personal level, Mercury, Jupiter, and Pluto together can give great insights into our own mind and psyche. We can see the things that appeal to our value systems now, that appeal to our philosophies of life, and we can really integrate those ideas deeply into us, give almost like an intellectual passion to like use that stuff to its very deepest depths, and and just work on stuff inside us where we can see where our motivation is, how that's fueling where we want to go, how that's changing our value systems, how it's upgrading the way we look at life. So I just really think these three are going to work so well together because they're in balance with one another. They're working together congruently, and the trine shows that they're all in harmony. So a great beginning of the week to take that information, visualize what you want to do with it, and then get down to the nitty gritty of going down and getting the insights and perceptions of the truth of everything you need to do to align that properly. Very potent energy. Okay, Tuesday, there's um there's a sun conjunct Venus, and this is going to run right into the new moon, right? Because the new moon is the sun and moon conjunct, right? So this is on Thursday when the new moon is, and Venus will also still be conjunct them, and so the Sun Venus in Gemini is a time where once again you want to make connections with people. This is a very extroverted social energy when Sun is conjunct Venus in Gemini. This is like about going out, being being assertive about making the connections you want to make, being and it can bring a lot of benefit through relationships. You can find a lot of support for your ideas this week, and a lot of like the ability to tell people what they are. Sun Venus can bring windfalls. It can bring money in. It can bring assets in. It's a good time to look at what you want to invest in. It also can bring in new creativity, new creative ideas on the intellectual level, in particular in Gemini. So allow the mind to get creative because it can go into some really good places. This is also an excellent aspect to start new relationships with. Or, you know, that it, it can be romantic, it can be business, it can be just sharing information, it can be new friends, but like just bringing in like, you know, new relationships too can really spark things. This is also a great time. Not, you know, I said it's got a lot of creativity, but like being able to create very harmonious surroundings, like being able to beautify your surroundings to make them feel more relaxing, more for you. You know, I mean, the only thing, this energy can be a little bit passive at times. You know, we can get into some indulgences and extravagance and enjoying life, but there's really nothing wrong with that too. You know, as long as we don't take it too far. But this energy is really about making connections with others. The new connections that you've made can really bring a lot of new information into you that'll really stoke the mind, and creative partnerships, that kind of thing can really happen. And that leads you right into the new moon on Thursday, new moon in Gemini, 17 degrees. Okay, so you want to look at where 17 degrees is in your chart, and that's the house that the new moon is falling into, and that's the house where there's this new energy. Now remember, new moon's always about what? Beginnings, right? It's about the spark of new beginnings and new plans, you know. And a new moon in Gemini wants information, right? I mean, the moon is the way we feel good, we feel safe, we feel secure. And the moon in Gemini feels secure when it's getting new information. It doesn't want to feel like it's missing something. There might be something important out there to glean from that information. So like, you know, so Gemini is always looking for some answers to stuff. So when the moon's in Gemini, it really gets its security from this flow of information coming in. And that flow of information can come from, once again, other people, especially with the Venus there, but it also can come from other sources too, the internet, learning, classes, just experiences that you're having can all bring that in. And so here we at this what we want to do is take that information, right? And we want to bounce it off other people. Once we've taken that information in, we're like, oh, how's that going to feel in the real world? Let me test it out. Let me actually bounce this off another person. And the reality is, we're really doing that for ourselves. We're just using the other person almost like as a mirror to see how they react to this information that we've been gathering. So a very, very, that's one of the big things about the moon in Gemini too, is it's not only collecting the information, but it wants to process that information, and so there's gonna, people are gonna be a lot more talkative. They want to, and they gonna want to communicate these ideas. Also, once again, good for travel on the moon in Gemini, because once again, that's a way we expose ourselves to other pieces of information, and we can allow them to come in. Now, what's really interesting about this one, right, this new moon, is it's in Gemini, so it's ruled by Mercury, which I just told you guys about how good of a position Mercury is in this week with this conjunction to Jupiter and the trine to Pluto. So the ruler of the new moon is saying, yes, take in that new information. It is going to give you a grander vision. And then you're going to be able to see how to implement that vision. Now, there is something really interesting that counters a lot of this, right? But it can be worked with. The next applying aspect that the new moon is going to have is a square to Saturn. It's about 4 degrees off. The moon and sun conjunct in a new moon are both square Saturn. So that is showing we really need, and Venus is squaring the Saturn too at the same time. Remember, the sun and Venus are together, so Venus is there also. And this is showing that we really need to assess relationships this week too. Under this new moon, we need to assess all the relationships that we're in, and what the Venus and Sun Saturn is showing is that there are certain relationships that are blocking us, that are restricting us. It could be like old relationships that have gone stale. It could be from authorities who are somehow able to push us around. And basically we do a very sober reassessment of relationships, and we can see the ones that are restricting us and dragging us down, depleting our energy. Those are the ones. Venus square Saturn is a separation aspect. It is the time to move forward and move away from those types of relationships that are dragging us down and restricting us from being the person, the sun, who we really want to be, and connecting with other people. Venus, the new people we want to connect with, that new moon with Venus right there. Lots of new people to connect with. But if these old people are holding you back, then it makes it more difficult. So at the same time that you're assessing those old relationships, you can assess the new ones and say, here's the ones I want to build on. Here's something that feels stable to me. Here's something that I feel this person's being honest with me. They're being sober with me. They're being righteous with me. And we can build a stable relationship out of this. It really favors business type relationships, once again, to work with this energy. You may have to appease certain authorities, superiors, bosses, people like that, who are going to hold you accountable for what your responsibilities and duties are within the framework of that relationship. But those are the types of ones that can be really helpful and useful now, that you can create solid, grounded, foundational relationships with people who you feel are being straight up with you, are being sober with you, are being real with you. And you feel like in the long run, you can go a long way with those people and build something really, really solid. So it can be a little depressing because, you look and you have to be real about these relationships. And there may be many that you're just like, oh, wow, this is really holding me back. I really need to, let this go. So one last thing, it's getting a little late in the blog. I want to mention one last thing. Mars is also changing signs. So that's pretty big. Mars only changes signs every 2 or 3 months. Remember, so this is a big one too. And Mars is going to make a big switch. It's going from Aries, one of the signs it's most comfortable in because it rules it, and it's going into Taurus, which is one of the signs it's most uncomfortable in, and what we call being in detriment traditionally. And why is that? Because Mars is all about acting, it's about moving, it's about taking action, initiative. And Taurus is like, whoa, slow down. Let me get all the information first. I am not going to be pushed into making a decision quickly. In fact, Mars in Taurus can be very stubborn energy. People can get very entrenched in their defensive position and refuse to move forward. Mars in Taurus is a very traditional type energy at times in that way, where it can just be stuck in the way things have always been and not be willing to move forward from that. So that's the big issue with why Mars does not like Taurus much. Mars wants to be able to act freely. It wants to be able to react quickly to what's going on. And Taurus is like pulling the reins on the horses and like, whoa, slow down. We need to look at everything very slowly, very much in detail. Take a cautious and conservative approach before we make any big decisions. So that's where, and I'll tell you, a lot of our actions while Mars and Taurus is going to be around collecting assets, collecting money, property, things like that. We spend a lot of time, and that's a time when you do want to slow down in your decision making and make sure that your contract agreement negotiations are all properly done before moving forward. Now, one of the dangers too of Mars and Taurus is it allows anger to build up slowly inside until it turns into rage, right? And it will hold it and hold it and hold it. And then suddenly, ba-boom, when it explodes, it can be all out warfare. So you need to find ways to process your anger and let it out before it reaches that point. Because when Mars and Taurus gets angry, it is like a bull. You do not want to be out there waving the red flag, right? You don't want to be that guy. So you really need to find a way to let that steam off. And a lot of times it's just the people around us who can be slowly irritating us with habits that they don't seem to ever be able to break, and be stuck in certain patterns. That's Taurus energy. And it just becomes really irritating and frustrating, but you don't say anything about it. And then one day, maybe the littlest thing that happens can just make you blow up and the whole thing blows out. So, and then one of the other really good things about Mars and Taurus, once again, it's an earth sign, right? And Mars in an earth sign, Mercury in an earth sign work very well with tools, with the mind and the hands and the tools between the mind and the hands. We can be craftsmen, basically. So really good energy to work with those three things together: the mind, the hands, and tools. So anything that you've got a project on, and taking a very cautious, careful approach when you're doing that too, and making sure that you've got it all right, which may be too slow for some people, but you will get it right. So, like I said, a lot of stuff went going on this week. The 2 planets changing signs, the new moon, lots of Gemini energy. That Gemini energy is working with a really good alignment with Mercury and Jupiter and Pluto. We want to take advantage of that this week. We want to take the ideas that and make them part of a grander vision. And then we want to be able to work on that and get the message out, right? That's what we want to do. And we also, at the same time, with that new moon, we want to assess our relationships. We want to move away from ones that are restricting us. We want to move towards ones that feel like they're stable and sober and real, right? And that's even what the Mars and Taurus wants too. So that's what I got for you guys this week. Next week, Venus is going to change signs, and she is going to lead the parade into the Cancer time of the year. So Venus will be going into Cancer next week. There's a few other things going on too. So I'll talk about all that next week. So once again, remember, special announcement right now. If you want to give a donation to the blog through Venmo, every $5 you give is going to be a chance to win a reading at the end of the month. And we'll see how this goes. And if it goes well, I may continue it for every month. So, you want to donate $20, you'll get 4 chances to win that reading. That reading's value is $222.22. So you get a good chance at, getting something of that value at a lot less. The Venmo handle, one more time, if you'd like to be part of that, it's the letter A with the circle, the symbol at Matthew, capital M, 2 T's in Matthew, then a hyphen in the middle, capital LAUTEN, at Matthew-Lawton. And if you want to try to enter a chance and support me at the same time, that's great. The best way to support me, though, is I am a professional astrologer. So when you or anyone you know is ready for that reading, ready to really have some deep stuff exposed to you that you can work with for the rest of your life, that reading will last with you. It's not like a meal that's going to be gone in a day or two or anything else that you buy. You're going to carry that reading with you the rest of your life, and you'll see how it applies to so many things and help you with your own self-knowledge, with your own self-fulfillment, and your own ability to make better decisions for yourself. So when you or someone else is ready for that, get in touch with me. Best way is through the website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. You can connect me right there. The menu is right there too. All the prices. I'm going to be expanding my services too for people who have a deeper interest and use astrology every day in their lives to help business decisions and personal decisions. I'll be offering some new services on that too, and I'll probably announce that maybe even next week. And look for it on the website. Remember, I also do a calendar page every week on the website of the days of the week and some of the old holidays and what they meant and that kind of thing. And remember, it is a free service. I really ask all of you right now to pass the link on YouTube along. If you are a YouTube account person, please become a follower. Turn on your notifications. Remember, it's also available on podcasts and Instagram, and the blog is embedded every week on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. Thank you so much for all your guys' support. Really appreciate anyone who helps pass the blog along. I'm going to be, like I said, having some new services, maybe even some new ways of doing the blog coming up soon. And right now, I've opened up that new option of a way for you to get a reading at a discount if you want to support the blog through a donation. All right, I will see you all next week. Thank you so much. Please pass that blog along and use this new moon. Get that energy going, get it out there, get it going forward. And I'll see you all next week.